The galaxy was a vast place filled with thousands of stars, planets, and civilizations. Some species were famous for their strength. Others were known for their advanced technology or powerful fleets. In the middle of this great galactic community stood an enormous station called the Galactic Assembly. Every important civilization in the galaxy had a representative there. The assembly was where leaders met to discuss trade, peace, and sometimes war. Some species were loud and proud. They spoke often, bragging about their victories and their powerful weapons. They liked to remind everyone how strong they were. But one species was different: humans. The human representatives rarely spoke during meetings. They usually listened quietly while others argued and debated. When they did speak, their words were short and calm. Because of this, many alien leaders believed humans were weak. Humanity had entered the galactic community only a few decades ago. Compared to ancient empires that had ruled the stars for thousands of years, humans were newcomers. Their home planet, Earth, was known as a death world. It was a dangerous place filled with storms, earthquakes, oceans, predators, and harsh environments. Many alien scientists believed no intelligent species should have survived on such a violent planet. When the galaxy first learned that humans came from Earth, they were surprised. But surprise slowly turned into amusement. Creatures from such a chaotic world cannot be very advanced, many alien leaders said. Humans also did not show their military power openly. Their fleets were small compared to other civilizations. Most human ships were trade vessels, exploration ships, or transport carriers. They focused on building alliances, trading resources, and learning from other species. Many aliens believed this peaceful behavior proved their weakness. During assembly meetings, humans almost never argued or demanded power. While other civilizations competed for influence, humans stayed quiet. Some leaders thought this was politeness. Others thought it was fear. Over time, rumors began spreading through the galactic community. They avoid conflict because they cannot fight. They know their planet is weak. They are too fragile for real war. These whispers slowly became accepted as truth. A powerful empire, known across many systems for its large fleets and aggressive expansion, began paying closer attention to humanity. Their leaders studied human trade routes and colonies. They saw peaceful ships moving between star systems. They saw small human outposts on distant planets. But they did not see large war fleets. To them, this confirmed everything they believed. Humans were weak. One day during an assembly meeting, a tall alien representative from that empire spoke loudly in the chamber. Why does humanity sit quietly while stronger civilizations protect the galaxy? He asked. Several alien delegates laughed softly. The human representative simply listened. He was a calm man named Daniel. He wore a simple dark uniform with a small symbol of Earth on the chest. He showed no anger on his face. When the assembly leader allowed him to respond, Daniel stood slowly. Humanity prefers cooperation, he said calmly. Peace benefits everyone. Some representatives rolled their eyes. Others whispered to each other. To them, those words sounded like an excuse from a weak species. After the meeting ended, several alien leaders spoke privately. They are afraid, one of them said. They know they cannot win against real fleets. They hide behind diplomacy. The Empire's commanders reached the same conclusion. If humans were truly weak, their territories would be easy to control. And if no one defended them, those systems could become valuable new resources for expansion. For a while, the Empire only watched. They sent scouts to observe human colonies from a distance. The reports were always the same. Small defenses, peaceful settlements, trade ships, no massive war fleets. The Empire's leaders became more confident with every report. Eventually, one of their admirals made a bold suggestion during a strategy meeting. We should test them, he said. Send a small fleet to one of their distant colonies. Not a full invasion, just a demonstration. The room became quiet as the other commanders considered the idea. If humans truly were weak, they would surrender quickly. And if they did not resist, the Empire could expand without much effort. The decision was not made immediately. but the idea had been planted. Far away from those discussions, humanity continued its quiet work. Human ships traveled between stars. Scientists studied new planets. Engineers built new technology. And deep in hidden shipyards far from public trade routes, something else was happening. Something the galaxy had not noticed. Something the Empire had completely misunderstood. Because while the galaxy believed humanity was weak, humans had simply been silent. And sometimes, silence did not mean fear. Sometimes, silence meant preparation. Rocket. Across the galaxy, the idea that humans were weak continued to spread. Many alien civilizations believed it without question. They looked at humanity and saw a young species that avoided conflict. Humans traded goods, shared technology, and built peaceful colonies on distant planets. They rarely showed their military strength. To most aliens, this behavior looked like fear. Inside the powerful empire that had been watching humanity, the leaders gathered in a large command chamber. The room was filled with bright star maps showing many systems and trade routes. Human colonies were marked with small blue lights. Several commanders stood around the table, studying the maps carefully. One of them pointed toward a distant human colony. "This settlement is far from their main territory," he said. "Its defenses are minimal. Only a few patrol ships protect it." Another commander nodded. "Our scouts have been watching it for weeks," he added. "Their ships are small. Most are cargo vessels." The commanders began discussing their plan. For many years their empire had expanded across dozens of star systems. Every new planet brought more resources, more workers, and more power. Expansion had always been their way. But conquering powerful civilizations required large fleets and heavy losses. Humanity looked different. They seemed weak. Their colonies seemed easy to capture. The Empire's High Admiral listened quietly to the discussion before speaking. "We will not begin with a full invasion," he said. "First, we test their reaction." The commanders looked at him with interest. "A small fleet will approach the colony," the Admiral continued. "We attack their defenses and observe their response." "And if they fight back?" one commander asked. The Admiral gave a cold smile. "Then we will learn how strong they really are." The room grew silent. Everyone believed the same thing. Humans would not fight. Far away, in the human colony called New Horizon, life was peaceful. The colony rested on a green world with large forests and wide oceans. The settlement was not very large, but it was growing every year. Thousands of human settlers lived there with their families. Cargo ships arrived often, bringing supplies and new equipment from Earth and other colonies. The people of New Horizon believed they were safe. Small patrol ships protected the system. The colony also had a defense station in orbit above the planet. It was enough to stop pirates or small threats. But no one expected a real invasion. One morning, the quiet routine of the colony suddenly changed. A warning signal echoed through the orbital station. Unknown ships detected at the edge of the system. The station commander quickly entered the control room. "How many?" he asked. A young officer studied the radar screen. 6 warships, she answered. "They are not broadcasting any friendly signals." The room grew tense. The commander frowned. 6 warships were not a small threat. "Try to contact them," he ordered. The officer sent a message. "This is Human Colony New Horizon," she said through the communication system. "Identify yourselves and state your purpose." For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then a cold message arrived. "This system now belongs to the Empire. Power down your defenses and prepare to surrender." The control room became very quiet. The officers looked at the commander. He did not panic. Instead, he took a slow breath and gave calm orders. "Evacuate civilian ships immediately," he said. "Send a warning to Earth and nearby colonies." "And the defense station?" one officer asked. "We hold as long as we can," the commander replied. Outside the station, the alien fleet slowly moved closer. Their ships were large, dark, and heavily armed. Compared to the small human patrol ships, they looked terrifying. The first attack came quickly. Bright beams of energy struck the outer defense platforms. Explosions flashed across the darkness of space. Human patrol ships tried to resist, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Within minutes, the colony's defenses were breaking apart. Inside the command room, alarms were ringing everywhere. Defense grid collapsing. Patrol ship 3 destroyed. Station hull taking damage. The commander watched the reports carefully. "We cannot win this fight," he said calmly, "but we can save lives." He turned to the communication officer. "Confirm evacuation status." "Civilian ships are leaving the planet now," she answered. The commander nodded. "Good." That was always the priority. Within an hour, the colony's defenses were completely destroyed. The alien fleet moved into orbit above the planet. But something strange happened. The humans did not launch a desperate counterattack. They did not send reinforcements. They simply evacuated their people and withdrew. When the Empire's commanders received the battle report, they were pleased. "The colony surrendered quickly," one officer said. "Exactly as we expected," another replied. To them, the battle proved their belief. Humans were weak. They would not fight. But what the Empire did not understand was this. The humans had not panicked. They had not acted out of fear. They had simply followed a plan. And somewhere far away, deep in human space, a message had already reached the leaders of Earth. The report was short. The alien empire had attacked a human colony. For the first time in many years, humanity was now preparing to respond. Rocket. The news of the attack on the colony of New Horizons spread quickly through human space. The evacuation had saved thousands of lives, but the colony itself was lost. The alien empire had taken control of the system and placed their warships in orbit around the planet. Many humans were angry when they heard the report, but the leaders of Earth did not rush into battle. Instead, they met in a quiet council chamber deep inside the United Earth Command building. The room was large and filled with screens showing star maps, colony locations, and fleet movements. Admirals, scientists, and government leaders sat around a long table. At the center of the table was a glowing image of the New Horizon system. Admiral Carter studied the image carefully. He was an older man with calm eyes and many years of experience in space command. "The colony has been evacuated," one officer reported. "Civilian losses were minimal." "That was the correct decision," Carter said. Another officer spoke next. "The alien fleet that attacked them belongs to the Empire that has been watching our territory." The room became quiet. Everyone already knew about that empire. For many years they had expanded their borders through force. Several smaller civilizations had lost their planets to them. But until now, they had never attacked humanity directly. A scientist touched the screen, bringing up information about the alien fleet. 6 warships were used in the attack, she explained. Their firepower was far greater than the colony's defenses. A younger officer looked frustrated. "Then why didn't we send reinforcements?" he asked. Admiral Carter turned toward him calmly. "Because the colony could not be saved in time," he replied. "Sending more ships would only have increased the casualties." The young officer slowly nodded. He understood. Saving lives was more important than holding one colony. After the meeting ended, humanity sent an official report to the Galactic Assembly. The message was simple. It explained that the Empire had attacked a peaceful human colony and forced the evacuation of its people. Humanity requested that the Assembly investigate the attack. When the report arrived at the Galactic Assembly Station, many alien representatives read it with little interest. Some even laughed. "Humans complain instead of fighting," one delegate said. "They run to the Assembly for help," another added. To them, this reaction confirmed their old belief. Humans avoided war because they were weak. Meanwhile, inside the empire that had launched the attack, the commanders celebrated their easy victory. The battle had been short. The colony had fallen quickly. Their warships had suffered almost no damage. The High Admiral listened as the commanders gave their reports. "The humans retreated almost immediately," one officer said. "They evacuated civilians and abandoned the colony." The admiral nodded slowly. "So they chose survival over resistance." "Yes," the officer replied. To the Empire's leaders, this proved something important. Humanity did not have the courage to fight powerful enemies. They would rather retreat than risk destruction. One commander leaned forward. If 6 ships were enough to take one of their colonies, he said, imagine what a full fleet could accomplish. Several officers agreed. Human space contained many valuable planets and trade routes. If humans refused to fight, those systems could be taken easily. But the admiral was careful. Patience, he said. We will observe their response first. For several days, the Empire watched human space closely. They expected anger. They expected threats. Perhaps even a desperate counterattack. But none of those things happened. Human ships continued traveling between their star systems. Trade routes remained active. Colonies continued their normal activities. From the outside, everything looked calm. Too calm. Inside secret human command centers, however, something very different was happening. Deep in space, far from busy trade routes, enormous shipyards floated in darkness. These stations had been built many years earlier and were rarely visited by civilian ships. Only military engineers and fleet commanders worked there. Massive warships rested inside giant construction docks. Their hulls were thick and dark. Their engines were powerful. Rows of heavy weapons were hidden beneath protective armor. One by one, the silent shipyards began activating. Lights turned on across long corridors. Robotic machines moved across the hulls of unfinished ships. Engineers received new orders. Fleet officers reviewed battle plans. Slowly, quietly, humanity was waking up its hidden strength. But none of this activity was visible to the outside galaxy. The Empire's scouts saw only the usual trade ships. They saw peaceful colonies and quiet patrol vessels. Everything looked exactly the same as before. This made the Empire's leaders even more confident. They are afraid to fight us, one commander said during a meeting. They know they cannot win. The High Admiral listened to the reports before making his next decision. If humanity refuses to resist, he said, then we will take more than one colony. A dark smile appeared on his face. Prepare the next operation. The commanders nodded eagerly. They believed victory would be easy. What they did not realize was that humanity had not ignored the attack. Humans had simply taken their time. Because on Earth, and on every human colony, people understood something very well. War was dangerous. War was costly. And once it truly began, there was no turning back. Rocket. After the fall of the human colony New Horizon, the alien empire grew more confident than ever. To them, the battle had proven something important. Humanity did not fight back. They evacuated their people and abandoned the system without trying to win. In the Empire's capital system, the highest leaders gathered inside a massive command hall. The room was wide and filled with bright holographic star maps. Many star systems glowed across the map, showing the Empire's growing territory. At the edge of that glowing territory were the blue lights of human space. The Empire's High Admiral stood in front of the map while commanders and political leaders watched him. The humans have shown their weakness, he said in a strong voice. They did not defend their colony. They did not send fleets. They only complained to the Galactic Assembly. Several leaders in the room laughed. To them, this was proof that humans feared the Empire. One commander stepped forward. Our scouts report that their systems remain quiet, he said. Their fleets have not moved. Another officer added, human trade ships continue their usual routes. Their colonies are acting like nothing happened. The High Admiral nodded slowly. Exactly, he said. They hope the galaxy will protect them. The room filled with quiet murmurs. Many empires in the galaxy respected strength above everything else. If a species could not defend its territory, others would eventually take it. Humanity, in the eyes of the Empire, had just proven they could not defend themselves. Finally, the Empire's ruler entered the chamber. Everyone stood immediately. The ruler walked slowly to the center of the room and looked at the glowing star map. Report, the ruler ordered. The High Admiral bowed slightly. The human colony has been captured successfully, he said. There was no serious resistance. And the humans? The ruler asked. They evacuated their people and retreated. For a moment, the ruler remained silent while studying the map. Then the ruler spoke again. Do they plan retaliation? Our scouts see no sign of military movement, the admiral replied. A small smile appeared on the ruler's face. Then the path is clear. The leaders in the room understood immediately. Human space was open.
Weak.
Unprotected. The ruler raised a hand toward the map where several human colonies were marked. These systems contain valuable resources, the ruler said. If humanity cannot protect them, then they belong to those who can. The commanders nodded. Everyone in the room expected the same decision. The ruler finally spoke the words that would change everything. Prepare a formal declaration of war. The command echoed across the chamber. A few hours later, the message was transmitted across the entire galaxy. The Empire officially declared war on humanity. The announcement was broadcast to the Galactic Assembly Station, where representatives from many civilizations gathered to watch the message. The Empire's ruler appeared on the central screen in the assembly chamber. Humanity has failed to defend its territory, the ruler said coldly. Their weakness threatens stability in the galaxy. Some delegates watched quietly. Others whispered to each other. Therefore, the ruler continued, our empire will bring order to their systems. The final sentence followed soon after. We officially declare war on humanity. The message ended. For a moment, the assembly chamber was completely silent. Then voices began filling the room. Some representatives were shocked. Others simply shrugged. Many believed the war would be short. One alien delegate spoke quietly to another. Humans will surrender quickly, he said. They have no chance against a real empire. Across the chamber, the human representative stood calmly. His name was Daniel. He had listened to the entire message without showing fear or anger. The assembly leader turned toward him. Human representative, the leader said, does humanity wish to respond? The entire chamber became quiet again. Every alien delegate turned their eyes toward the human. Many expected panic. Others expected desperate requests for help. Daniel stood slowly. His uniform was simple, and his voice was calm. Humanity acknowledges the declaration, he said. Murmurs spread across the chamber. That is all, one delegate whispered. Daniel continued speaking. Humanity did not seek this war. He paused for a moment. But we will defend our people. That was the entire response. No threats. No long speeches. Just those few words. Then Daniel sat down again. Many alien delegates looked confused. That's it, someone asked. Another delegate laughed quietly. They sound resigned already. But far away from the assembly station, inside hidden human command centers, the situation was very different. Fleet commanders received the official message. The words were simple. War has been declared. Across secret shipyards and distant military bases, human fleets began preparing to move. Engines started warming. Weapon systems powered on. Command crews took their positions. Humanity had listened quietly for a long time. Now the moment had finally arrived. The Empire believed they were about to conquer a weak species. But they were about to discover something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans were born on a dangerous world. And when a species from a death world was pushed too far, they did not surrender. They fought. Rocket. The declaration of war spread across the galaxy like a powerful storm. Every civilization in the Galactic Assembly received the message. News channels across hundreds of star systems began discussing the conflict. Many analysts believed the outcome was obvious. The Empire had large fleets and long experience in war. They had conquered many star systems in the past. Humanity, on the other hand, was still seen as a young and quiet species. Most observers believed the war would end quickly. Some even predicted that humans would surrender before the first major battle. Inside the Galactic Assembly Station, alien delegates gathered in small groups, discussing the situation. They cannot win, one delegate said. The Empire's fleets are too powerful, another replied. A third delegate shook his head. Humans are peaceful traders. War is not their strength. Across the large chamber, the human representative Daniel sat quietly at his desk. He listened to the conversations around him, but did not react. To the other delegates, his silence looked like worry. But inside Daniel's mind, something else was happening. He already knew that humanity had begun preparing. Far away from the assembly station, deep inside human space, Earth had become the center of activity. In the command headquarters of United Earth Fleet, hundreds of officers worked around the clock. Large screens filled the walls, showing star systems, fleet movements, and incoming reports. Admiral Carter stood in the middle of the command room, studying the tactical displays. A young officer approached him. "Sir, the declaration of war has reached all colonies," she reported. "And their status?" Carter asked. "Colonies are entering defense readiness," she answered. "Civilian evacuations are beginning in the outer systems." Carter nodded. "Good. Safety comes first." Another officer spoke from across the room. "Fleet groups from the outer shipyards are ready for deployment." The admiral walked toward the main star map. Small symbols began appearing across human territory. Each symbol represented a fleet. But unlike the small patrol groups seen by alien scouts, these fleets were much larger and far more powerful. Many of them had never been shown publicly before. For decades, humanity had quietly built shipyards far away from normal trade routes. These shipyards produced advanced warships designed specifically for large-scale conflict. The galaxy had never seen them. Even many human civilians did not know they existed. Now, one by one, these hidden fleets were waking up. Inside a massive shipyard floating in deep space, engineers moved quickly across long metal corridors. Huge warships rested inside giant construction docks. Their hulls were thick and dark, covered in armor plates. Their engines were powerful enough to move entire fleets through hyperspace. Rows of heavy weapons lined their sides. One officer walked across a large command deck while looking at a screen. "Fleet Group 1 is fully operational," he reported. "Prepare them for departure," another officer replied. In another shipyard, enormous hangar doors slowly opened. A massive human battleship moved forward, its engines glowing softly. Smaller escort ships followed behind it. For years, these vessels had remained hidden. Now, they were finally leaving their docks. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter continued watching the reports. "How many fleets are ready?" he asked. An officer quickly checked the data. 7 primary fleets are prepared, sir. Additional support groups will join them soon." Carter nodded thoughtfully. "That should be enough for the first phase." The young officer standing beside him looked curious. "Sir," she asked carefully, "do the aliens know about these fleets?" Carter allowed himself a small smile. "No," he answered. "They believe we are weak." He turned his eyes back to the star map. That misunderstanding is about to become their biggest mistake. Meanwhile, inside the Empire's command center, their leaders were making their own preparations. Large fleets were gathering near the border of human space. Hundreds of warships formed powerful battle groups. The commanders expected the war to be simple. Their first attack had already destroyed one human colony. Now, they believed the rest of humanity would fall just as easily. The High Admiral spoke confidently to his officers. "Once our fleets enter their territory, their defenses will collapse," he said. "Humans will surrender before long." The commanders agreed. They had studied humanity carefully. They had seen only small patrol ships and peaceful colonies. Nothing suggested that humans could resist a full Imperial fleet. But far away in deep space, something was already moving. Human fleets. Silent, hidden, and ready for war. The Empire believed they were about to attack a weak species. They believed the coming battles would be easy victories. But they had never fought humans before. And soon the galaxy would learn something important. Humans might appear quiet and peaceful. But when their people were threatened, they did not stay silent forever. Rocket. Across the galaxy, many civilizations believed they understood humanity. Humans were traitors. Humans were diplomats. Humans preferred peace. That was the image the galaxy had seen for many years. But the truth was very different. Far away from busy trade routes and popular star systems, humanity had been quietly preparing for something the galaxy rarely noticed: survival. Humans came from Earth, a world known across the galaxy as a death world. It was a planet filled with danger, violent storms, powerful oceans, wild animals, and constant natural disasters. For millions of years, life on Earth had survived by adapting to danger. Humans carried that same instinct with them into space. They hoped for peace, but they always prepared for war. Because on Earth, history had taught humanity an important lesson: peace could disappear at any moment. That was why the secret shipyards existed. These shipyards were built in empty star systems far from normal travel routes. The locations were carefully hidden. Only military officers and trusted engineers knew about them. To the rest of the galaxy, those systems looked empty. But inside those quiet systems floated enormous structures. Human shipyards. Each one was larger than many space stations. Massive construction docks stretched for kilometers through space. Powerful machines worked day and night, slowly building warships that the galaxy had never seen before. For years, these shipyards had worked quietly. No announcements were made. No fleets were shown to the Galactic Assembly. Humanity simply built. Now, after the declaration of war, those shipyards had become the center of activity. Inside one of the largest shipyards, engineers moved quickly across long metal corridors. Bright lights reflected off the massive hull of a battleship that rested inside the central dock. The ship was enormous. Its dark armor plates were thick and layered. Heavy weapons were built directly into the structure of the vessel. Powerful engines were designed to push the ship across huge distances in space. An officer stood on a high observation platform, watching the workers below. "Final system check," he ordered. A technician looked at the screen beside him. "Engine systems ready." Another voice spoke from across the platform. "Shield generators fully charged. Weapon arrays operational." The officer nodded with satisfaction. "Good. Prepare the ship for launch." Slowly, massive mechanical arms pulled away from the battleship's hull. The construction dock opened, revealing the endless darkness of space beyond. The battleship's engines began glowing with a soft blue light. It was ready. In another shipyard system, a group of human commanders gathered inside a command room. A large holographic star map floated above the center table. Several red markers showed the location of the Empire's fleets. One of the commanders pointed at the map. "The Empire is gathering ships near our outer colonies," he said. "They believe we will retreat again." Another commander shook his head slightly. "They still think we are weak." A quiet smile appeared on the face of Admiral Carter, who was now overseeing the fleet preparations. "That belief is our advantage," he said calmly. The commanders looked at him. "For years the galaxy has watched us trade and cooperate," Carter continued. "They saw peaceful colonies and small patrol fleets." He paused before speaking again. "They never saw the rest." The holographic map changed. New symbols appeared across several hidden systems. Each symbol represented a fleet group. Large ones. Powerful ones. Human fleets that had never been shown publicly before. One young officer stared at the display with surprise. "There are more ships than I expected," she admitted. Carter nodded slightly. "We built them slowly," he explained. Quietly. The officer looked at the map again. If the Empire had known about these fleets, they might not have declared war, Carter finished. For a moment, the room became silent. The commanders understood something important. The Empire had made a serious mistake. They believed they were attacking a weak civilization. In reality, they had forced humanity to reveal its hidden strength. Meanwhile, inside the Empire's command center, their leaders were preparing their own plans. Reports continued arriving from their scouts. Human trade routes remain active. No large fleet movements detected. Colonies appear calm. The High Admiral listened to the reports with satisfaction. "Exactly as we expected," he said. "They are afraid." He looked at the star map showing human space. "Our fleets will begin the next attack soon." The commanders nodded confidently. They believed the war was already half won. But deep in the darkness of space, human fleets were already moving. Battleships, cruisers, and escort ships left their hidden shipyards one by one. Their engines glowed as they entered hyperspace. They moved silently across the stars. No broadcasts. No warnings. Just quiet movement. Because humanity had finally stopped preparing. Now, they were ready to fight. Rocket. The alien empire believed the war had already begun in their favor. They had captured one human colony without much difficulty. Their commanders believed the rest of the human territories would fall just as easily. Inside the Empire's main battle command ship, the High Admiral stood in front of a large star map. Several human star systems were marked on the display. "Our next target is the Vega system," the Admiral announced. The Vega system was an important human colony. It had several mining stations and a growing settlement on one of its planets. If the Empire captured Vega, they would gain valuable resources and weaken human space even further. The Admiral looked at his officers. "Prepare the invasion fleet," he ordered. Hundreds of warships soon began gathering at the edge of the system. Large battleships formed the center of the formation, while smaller attack ships surrounded them. The Empire's fleet was powerful and well-organized. The commanders felt confident. "Once we enter the system, their defenses will collapse," one officer said. "They ran before," another replied. "They will run again." Soon the fleet jumped into hyperspace. Their destination was Vega. Far away in human space, the arrival of the enemy fleet did not go unnoticed. Inside a hidden human command station, alarms began flashing across the control room. "Enemy fleet detected," an officer reported. Admiral Carter stepped forward and studied the tactical display. Red symbols appeared across the map, showing the size of the incoming fleet. It was large, much larger than the group that had attacked New Horizon. But Carter did not look worried. Instead, he gave a calm order. "Activate Defense Plan Alpha." The officers immediately began sending commands across the network. Unknown to the Empire, the Vega system had been quietly reinforced. Human engineers had spent months improving its defenses after the attack on New Horizon. New stations were hidden behind asteroids. Defense satellites floated silently in orbit around the system star. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the outer planets, a human fleet was waiting. The human ships remained silent. Their engines were powered down to avoid detection. They waited patiently. Hours later, the Empire's fleet arrived in the Vega system. One by one, their warships dropped out of hyperspace. The massive fleet formed its attack formation immediately. The High Admiral looked at the star system on a screen. "Begin scanning for defenses," he ordered. Moments later, the first report arrived. "Minimal activity detected," an officer said. The Admiral smiled slightly. Just as expected, he raised his hand. "Advance toward the colony." The fleet began moving deeper into the system. Suddenly, warning signals appeared on several screens. "Unknown objects detected." The Admiral frowned. "What objects?" Before the officer could answer, dozens of small defense satellites activated at once. Bright energy beams shot across space. The first wave of attacks struck the Empire's outer ships. Explosions flashed in the darkness. Several smaller warships were hit before they could react. The Empire's commanders were shocked. "Hidden defenses," one officer shouted. "Return fire." The alien fleet quickly responded, destroying many of the satellites. But the attack had already slowed their advance. Then something even more surprising happened. New signals appeared on the scanners. Multiple ships approaching from the outer system. The High Admiral leaned forward. "How many?" The officer stared at the screen in disbelief. "Too many, at least 40 warships." The Admiral's eyes widened. "Human warships. Dozens of them." They moved together in perfect formation as they approached the battle. These were not small patrol ships. These were powerful cruisers and battleships. Their engines glowed as they accelerated toward the enemy fleet. The human fleet had been waiting the entire time. Admiral Carter stood on the command bridge of the human flagship. He watched the enemy fleet on the tactical screen. "All ships ready?" he asked. A crew member nodded. "Yes, Admiral." Carter gave a single command. "Begin attack." The human fleet moved forward as one. Rows of weapons fired at the same time. Bright streams of energy crossed the darkness of space. The Empire's ships were forced to turn and defend themselves. For the first time since the war began, they faced a real human military force. And it was far stronger than they expected. The battle quickly became chaotic. Explosions lit up the space around the fleets. Ships moved quickly, trying to outmaneuver their enemies. Human pilots worked together with precise coordination. Their ships moved like a single unit. The Empire's commanders began realizing something terrifying. This was not the weak species they expected. These humans were skilled fighters. And their fleet was powerful. The High Admiral watched as one of his cruisers exploded on the screen. His expression slowly changed from confidence to concern. "Where did these ships come from?" one officer asked in shock. No one had an answer. The Empire had believed humanity would run. Instead, they had walked directly into a trap. And the first real battle of the war had only just begun.
Rocket.
The news of the first battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Alien civilizations that had once laughed at humanity now stopped and watched in shock. Reports arrived from distant star systems, carried by fast communications ships and long-range transmitters. Images of the battle, intercepted by scouts and satellites, showed something the galaxy had never expected: humans fighting back. They were not just resisting, they were winning. Across the galactic assembly, representatives gathered around their communication screens. Many leaned forward, unable to believe what they were seeing. "They have fleets far larger than we ever imagined," one delegate whispered. "They move together with perfect coordination," another added. "Their weapons, they hit precisely where they need to." Delegates from empires that had dismissed humanity as weak began asking questions. "How long have humans been building these ships?" one asked quietly. No one had an answer. Most species had never suspected that humans had spent decades constructing powerful fleets in secret. Back in human space, Admiral Carter watched the battle reports with calm eyes. On the screen, human ships moved like shadows across the Vega system, striking enemy warships with precision. "Focus on the enemy's center formation," Carter ordered. "Do not waste fire on minor vessels. Disable their command ships first." Officers obeyed immediately. Communications flashed across the fleet. Humans worked like a single organism. Their tactics were fast, intelligent, and deadly. Meanwhile, in the Empire's command centers, panic began to spread. Their high admirals stared at the reports. Explosions from destroyed ships filled the screens. For every human ship that was lost, 3 enemy vessels were destroyed. "This cannot be happening," a young officer said, fear in his voice. "They are only a young species," another officer replied. "They should not be able to fight like this." But humans were not just fighting. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson. In orbit around the Vega colony, civilians watched the battle unfold from protected stations. Though far from the front line, they could see the destruction of enemy ships through their scanners. Some were amazed. Others were terrified. But no one panicked. They had trained for this. Humanity had been preparing silently for years, and now the moment had arrived. The battle lasted for hours, but in that time, the Empire lost dozens of ships. Several of their fastest attack cruisers were destroyed before they could strike human vessels. Reports from other human colonies arrived quickly. Systems previously thought safe were activating hidden fleets. Other human warships, previously unknown to the galaxy, jumped into hyperspace to reinforce the Vega system. The Empire's commanders could not keep up. Their numerical advantage meant nothing when every human fleet coordinated so perfectly. They know our strategies before we even move," one commander shouted, disbelief in his voice. The High Admiral's confidence began to crumble. "Retreat is not an option," he muttered. "We have to fight." But every maneuver the Empire attempted was countered by human forces. Using fast ships, hidden fleets, and precise strikes, humans began pushing the alien fleet back. In the assembly, delegates whispered among themselves. "Humans are not weak," one said. "They are adaptable. They fight like a species from a death world," another added. Everything they do is designed to survive. Observers began comparing the humans to ancient alien civilizations that had been known for their military genius. Some delegates feared that the Empire attacking humanity had underestimated the consequences. Perhaps we all did, one elder representative whispered. Back in human space, Admiral Carter allowed himself a small smile. The Vega system was still under threat, but human ships had gained control. The Empire had been taught a lesson. Underestimating humans was dangerous. Prepare for counterattack, Carter said. We are not stopping here. The galaxy needs to see our strength. Across the stars, human fleets moved silently, leaving destruction behind. Systems that were thought to be easy targets were now deadly traps. The Empire's forces began to retreat, damaged and demoralized. And the galaxy finally understood the truth that humans had always known. Silence does not mean weakness. Adaptation, patience, and preparation make the quietest species the deadliest. From the edges of distant systems, alien civilizations watched humanity rise for the first time in galactic history. The young species that had once been ignored, laughed at, and underestimated had finally revealed its true power. And now, the galaxy was watching. Rocket. The battle in the Vega system had changed everything. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had once dismissed humanity now watched with a mixture of awe and fear. Analysts studied the reports and images of human ships moving with precision, striking enemy fleets with deadly accuracy. The Empire, which had believed the war would be easy, was now in full retreat. Its commanders struggled to understand the humans' tactics. Every move they made seemed anticipated. Every attack was countered. Inside the Empire's command centers, panic spread like wildfire. Officers argued with one another, blaming one another for the sudden failure. They are just one species, one commander shouted. How can they be this strong? They are not weak, another replied grimly. They're smart, too smart. Meanwhile, far away in human space, Admiral Carter observed the retreating fleet. His calm eyes scanned the reports. Prepare the counterattack, he ordered. We cannot let them regroup. Human fleets moved quickly. They struck at the Empire's supply lines first, destroying cargo ships, repair stations, and fuel depots. Without supplies, the alien warships could not continue their advance. A young officer reported, enemy ships are slowing down. Their attack groups are splitting apart. Good, Carter said. Now target their command vessels. The human ships moved with perfect coordination. They surrounded the enemy in small, fast units while keeping the main fleet safe. Each human vessel acted as part of a single organism, moving and firing with exact timing. The Empire's fleet tried to regroup, but it was too late. The humans had turned the tide. In one corner of the galaxy, other alien civilizations began sending observers closer to the conflict. They wanted to see what humans were capable of. Traders, diplomats, and scientists watched from a distance as human ships pressed forward. They fight like predators, one alien observer commented. Everything they do is efficient. Every attack has a purpose. They come from a dangerous world, another said. No wonder they are this adaptable. The Empire's commanders tried to fight back, but human tactics were unpredictable. Humans did not rely on brute force alone. They used speed, strategy, and clever maneuvers. They attacked weak points in the enemy fleet while protecting their own ships. Reports of the counterattack reached the Galactic Assembly. Delegates were shocked. Many had assumed humans would remain defensive, but now the humans were actively pushing back. In the assembly chamber, whispers filled the air. They underestimated them, one delegate said. Perhaps we all did, another replied. Meanwhile, in the Vega system, the Empire's fleet began to scatter. Human ships pursued the retreating warships, forcing them to abandon several outer colonies. The Empire had expected to conquer humanity quickly, but now it was losing the very ground it had taken. Admiral Carter gave a single order to his fleet. Do not destroy more than necessary. Show our strength, but avoid unnecessary casualties. The humans had learned an important lesson from Earth. Survival was about efficiency, not destruction. Even as they struck back, they protected civilians and minimized damage to inhabited colonies. Their goal was clear: demonstrate strength without unnecessary waste. The Empire's fleet was forced to fall back to regroup, but the humans were not finished. Hidden fleets from other sectors appeared in hyperspace, surrounding enemy forces on multiple sides. The Empire had assumed humans could only fight with the fleets they had seen before. Now they realized there were many more ships they had never detected. From the command deck of the human flagship, Carter watched the battle unfold. His calm voice cut through the communications network. "Keep pressure on them. Do not allow them to recover. The galaxy must see our strength." Across the stars, human ships advanced, striking strategically, forcing the Empire to retreat further with every engagement. For the first time in history, a young species from a death world had forced a powerful empire to reconsider its assumptions. The humans were no longer on the defensive. They were dictating the pace of the war. They had turned the tide completely. And as the Empire fled from one system to another, humanity continued its advance, showing the galaxy that silence, patience, and preparation were far more dangerous than brute strength. The tide had turned. The quiet species had begun to fight back. And the galaxy was starting to understand that underestimating humans had been a fatal mistake. Rocket. The alien empire had suffered defeat after defeat, yet it refused to surrender. Its leaders were stubborn, believing that sheer numbers could still win the war. In their central command ship, the High Admiral stood before a massive holographic map. Red and orange marked the positions of their remaining fleets, scattered and weakened. "Our forces are damaged, but we can still strike decisively," he said. "We will gather every ship available and hit the humans in one final attack." The commanders around him nodded. They had lost many ships, but their pride demanded victory. "This is our last chance," the Admiral continued. "Humanity may have surprised us before, but no species can fight against the full strength of our empire." Across the galaxy, humans watched the Empire's movements carefully. Hidden fleets had already gathered at key points in hyperspace, waiting for the inevitable attack. Admiral Carter studied the reports. The alien empire was concentrating all its remaining ships near the Tau 9 sector, a group of human colonies far from Earth. This was exactly what the Empire wanted: a decisive battle in a location where they could use their numbers to full advantage. Carter turned to his officers. "They think they can overwhelm us with numbers," he said calmly. "Let them come. We have been waiting for this moment." He gestured to the tactical map. Human fleets were positioned in several layers, some near the colonies, some hidden behind asteroids and nebulae, and some ready to jump in from hyperspace. "This is not just defense," Carter explained. "This is the moment to strike. We will use their size against them." The officers understood immediately. Humans were not merely waiting, they had planned a trap. Hours later, the Empire's fleet jumped into the Tau 9 sector. Hundreds of warships emerged from hyperspace, forming a massive wall across the star systems. Their weapons were primed, their shields strong, and their confidence high. They expected an easy victory. But the humans did not respond immediately. At first, the Empire's scanners showed no large human fleet. Only small patrol ships and minimal defenses were visible. This confirmed their belief. Humans were weak, scattered, and afraid. Suddenly, bright flashes appeared on the edge of the sector. Hidden human fleets jumped out of hyperspace from multiple directions. Massive battleships, long thought impossible by the Empire, surrounded the enemy from 3 sides. The Empire's commanders froze. What is this?" one shouted. Admiral Carter's voice echoed across human communication channels. "Calm, steady, confident. Engage," he ordered. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. They struck at the Empire's command vessels first, aiming to break the enemy's control over its fleets. Energy beams tore through hulls, while fast attack ships disabled weapon systems on multiple warships simultaneously. The Empire tried to fight back, but their size worked against them. Their massive formation made them slow and predictable. Every human strike hit with precision, avoiding unnecessary losses while causing maximum damage. In the center of the battle, The High Admiral of the Empire realized the truth too late. Humanity's fleets had outmaneuvered them completely. Their powerful warships could not respond quickly enough to the speed and coordination of human attacks. "Retreat," he shouted, but the order came too late. Several command vessels were destroyed, and the remaining ships began to scatter. The chaos spread through the fleet as humans cut off their retreat. Across the sector, human pilots executed perfectly timed attacks. Small groups bypassed heavy cruisers to strike vulnerable support ships. Hidden torpedo stations activated, hitting the enemy from unexpected directions. Every move had been calculated. Every strike had a purpose. From the human flagship, Carter watched the reports calmly. "Good," he said quietly. "Keep pressure on them. Do not give them a moment to recover." The Empire's fleet broke apart completely. Ships fled in all directions, some escaping to distant systems, others destroyed by human pursuers. For the first time, the Empire realized the depth of its mistake. They had underestimated a species from a death world, a species that had been quiet, patient, and hidden for centuries. Humanity did not celebrate the victory. Civilian evacuation efforts continued. Systems were protected. Communications reassured frightened colonies that the humans had not forgotten them. The war had reached its turning point. The final confrontation had proven something the galaxy could no longer ignore. Humanity was not weak, and their patience and preparation had made them one of the most formidable species in the galaxy. From the darkness of space, human fleets slowly withdrew, leaving the shattered remnants of the Empire's forces behind. The lesson was clear: never underestimate a species that had survived a death world. And for the first time, the galaxy truly feared what humanity could do when pushed. Rocket. After the final confrontation in the Tau 9 sector, the alien empire was in chaos. Their once proud fleets had been shattered. Many warships were destroyed, while others fled into distant systems, damaged and leaderless. Command structures had collapsed, and panic spread among the surviving officers. Inside the Empire's main command station, the High Admiral struggled to maintain order. Messages from fleets across human space poured in, reporting losses, retreats, and confusion. "We cannot regroup," a young officer shouted. "Our communication lines are failing. The humans control the sector now." The High Admiral's face was pale. He realized, with a bitter certainty, that the war was over. Meanwhile, humanity did not rush to crush the Empire entirely. They understood that unnecessary destruction could harm innocent civilians and destabilize the galaxy. The goal was not total conquest, but to defend their people and force peace. Admiral Carter observed the remaining enemy forces carefully. "We will not destroy them completely," he said. "We need them to understand the cost of underestimating humanity." Human fleets moved strategically, intercepting retreating enemy ships and disabling their weapons, but they allowed the majority to escape. The humans had learned a key lesson from Earth. Power was most effective when it was disciplined and controlled. Across human space, colonies celebrated quietly. Families who had feared for their lives were now safe. Evacuated civilians returned to their homes, and trade routes slowly reopened. Reports of the humans' victories spread throughout the galaxy. Alien civilizations, once dismissive of humanity, began to recognize their strength. Analysts studied the battles in detail, examining human strategies, tactics, and fleet coordination. "They are not just strong," one alien diplomat whispered. "They are intelligent, adaptable. They learn from every engagement. They fight like a species born on a death world," another replied. "Every decision they make is designed for survival." Even the Galactic Assembly, which had once ignored humanity, now regarded the species with respect. Delegates debated the Empire's failure and the humans' unexpected strength. Many realized that they had underestimated a species that had been quietly preparing for centuries. In the Empire's shattered command centers, the High Admiral finally sent a message to humanity. The message was brief. "We surrender. We acknowledge our defeat. We request peace." Humanity responded calmly. Earth's leaders accepted the surrender, but set clear terms. The Empire would withdraw from human space, respect human colonies, and cease all aggressive expansion toward human systems. Admiral Carter oversaw the final movements of human fleets. They escorted the remaining enemy ships safely out of human-controlled space, ensuring no one would try to return immediately. It was a controlled, precise operation that demonstrated both strength and discipline. The war was over. For the first time, humanity had fought a full-scale war against a powerful galactic empire. They had defended their colonies, protected their people, and demonstrated their military might. Back on Earth, citizens watched the victory broadcasts. Flags were raised, ships returned from secret shipyards, and families celebrated quietly. There were no wild celebrations, no excessive displays of power. Humanity had proven its strength without arrogance. In the Galactic Assembly, the silence was noticeable. Representatives from other civilizations spoke quietly among themselves, acknowledging a truth they could no longer ignore. Humans were no longer a species to be underestimated. They survived a death world, one diplomat said. And now they have survived a galactic war. They will not be weak again, another replied. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars. The enemy fleet was gone, and human space was safe. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's rise in the galaxy would not go unnoticed. The galaxy has learned our lesson, Carter said softly to his officers. But we must remain vigilant. Peace is fragile. We will always be ready. Around him, officers nodded in agreement. Humanity had won the war, but they had done so with wisdom and patience. They had shown the galaxy that strength was not measured only in numbers or weapons, but in preparation, strategy, and the will to protect one's people. And so, the war ended, not with the destruction of a species, but with a lesson learned by the entire galaxy. Underestimating humans was a mistake that no one could ever afford to repeat. Rocket. The war was over, but the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had survived what many had believed impossible. They had faced a powerful empire, defeated it, and protected their colonies with skill, strategy, and discipline. The quiet species from a death world had proven that strength did not always need to be loud or visible. On Earth, people went about their lives with a new sense of pride. Cities bustled, trade ships moved across space, and scientists returned to their laboratories. Yet, there was no overconfidence. Humans remembered the cost of war and the importance of vigilance. Admiral Carter stood on the command bridge of the flagship, watching fleets return from the final operations. Hidden ships that had once remained in secret shipyards now emerged, joining the visible fleets. They glowed softly in the darkness of space, a silent reminder of human power. Report, Carter said to his chief officer. All fleets are back in formation, Admiral, the officer replied. No major casualties. Civilian colonies are safe. The Empire has retreated beyond known systems. Carter nodded. He looked at the tactical map, filled with blue symbols representing human-controlled systems and fleets. It was not just a display of power, it was proof of preparation, patience, and unity. Good, Carter said. Now we focus on rebuilding. The galaxy must see that humanity is strong but fair. Across human space, colonies that had once feared invasion now began to thrive. Trade resumed between systems. Communication channels buzzed with reports of resources and scientific discoveries. And in the Galactic Assembly, representatives from other species now approached humanity with respect rather than dismissal. The human representative Daniel attended a special session of the Assembly. Alien delegates from hundreds of civilizations watched him speak. His calm voice carried authority. Humanity did not seek war, Daniel said. We defended our people. We protected our colonies. We acted not for conquest, but to ensure survival. Delegates nodded. Some whispered among themselves, realizing the depth of human strategy and restraint. The empire that had declared war was now forced to negotiate. Treaties were signed. Boundaries were respected. Systems previously threatened by invasion were returned. The empire learned a bitter lesson. Arrogance against humanity came at a cost. Back on Earth, Leaders held a ceremony to honor those who had served during the war. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and civilians who had contributed to the defense were recognized. This victory is not only military, Carter said during the ceremony. It is a victory of preparation, strategy, and courage. Every person who contributed to this defense on the colonies in shipyards or on Earth played a part. Humanity fought not with fear, but with wisdom. Children in the colonies listened to the stories of the war. They learned of the first attacks, the hidden fleets, and the final confrontation in the Tau 9 sector. They are brave, one child said quietly. Not just brave, another replied. They're clever. They think ahead and never give up. In the outer sectors of human space, fleets patrolled quietly, maintaining readiness. Humanity had shown the galaxy its strength, but it also remembered humility. The fleets were not deployed to threaten others, but to protect. Across the stars, alien civilizations adjusted their perception of humans. No longer were they seen as weak, quiet traitors. They were now recognized as a species that could survive death worlds, endure conflict, and emerge victorious against powerful empires. Some civilizations even sought alliances with humanity, eager to learn from their strategies and discipline. Trade agreements, scientific partnerships, and cultural exchanges began forming between humans and other species. Back on the flagship, Carter looked out at the stars. The war had ended, but humanity's story in the galaxy was only beginning. "We have shown the galaxy who we are," he said softly to his officers. "Now we must ensure that our strength is used wisely. Peace is just as important as power." The officers nodded. They understood. Humanity had survived war, but they had done so without losing their humanity. Far away, other civilizations observed, taking careful notes. Humanity had taught the galaxy a vital lesson. Never underestimate a species that has endured harsh worlds, hidden its strength, and prepared for the future. And so, a new era began. Humanity was no longer a quiet observer in the galaxy. They had become a respected and powerful presence, ready to defend, explore, and shape the future of the stars. The galaxy had learned one undeniable truth: silence does not mean weakness. Patience, preparation, and courage can turn the quietest species into the most formidable force in the universe. And humanity, born on a death world, had proven it beyond any doubt. Rocket.